Hello, this is the Summer Art Academy at Knoxville Museum of Art, and I'm Wendy, and I'll be teaching Recycle Your World, Part 1. Today we are going to be making a collage cat. This can be made out of any materials in your house. I'm specifically using newspaper and a paper bag. You can use paperboard or anything that you have laying around the house. I think that specifically the newsprint looks really cute on this cat. So we're going to be making the cat out of the paper and the newspaper. So what we're going to do first is we are going to cut the paper out to make the body of the cat. And what you can do is you can just draw out his tummy. Just make kind of a little bit of a loose circle, and then we're just going to cut into the paper. Okay, so we're just going to cut that out so that is a nice start for your cat. Okay. We're just going to set that aside, and then we want to do the head. So you can just find another part of the newspaper. You can look around and just see on the paper, what kind of images would you like to show up on the cat. This particular piece of paper is a weather report, and it has a lot of neat kind of lines and maps on it. So I thought that would be neat as part of your collage. Just a lot of texture, a lot of lines showing. Okay. So I am just cutting that out. Okay. So now I have the head. So far I have the cat's head and the cat's body that's going to glue on the paper. Okay, and now I want to cut some ears out. So I'm just going to cut 2 triangles. So just cutting in right here so you can see a triangle. And then I'm going to cut another triangle. Okay. We can cut those out. Okay. And actually, if you double up the paper, you can just cut out the triangles just like that, doubled up. So now I have the 2 ears. Okay, so I've got my body, my head, and my 2 ears. So now we want to give him whiskers as well. And so I am going to just cut out some little strips in the paper. You can just cut maybe a little rectangle out. And then you can cut, set that over there. And you can just cut long strips. So just so it looks like a long whisker. And I have about 6 different whiskers. And so I'm just going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 6 whiskers, and they're just long little strips. I'm going to put those down on the side. Okay, and now that is everything out of the newspaper. So now I'm going to use the brown paper. I've used a brown paper bag that's just a shopping bag. If you don't have a brown paper bag, you can use construction paper. But since we're using found materials around the house, this works really well, and it's got a nice texture. So I am going to draw 2 circles for the eyes. Okay, so I'm just going to cut those out. They're just kind of small circles that you can think of as a cat eye. my circle. And then I'm going to cut another circle. Okay, so I've got circle number 2. All right. And now we also want to use that brown paper for a little tummy spot, like a little spot for the cat. It's like fur or a spot on their fur. So I'm also just going to cut out just kind of a round, kind of an organic shape. Just it can be sort of a wavy circle. Okay. So I'm just using my scissors again. To cut out a little wavy circle. So that's his tummy. Okay, and that's going to go on the main body. All right. Now, we also want to cut out some little brown, the inner part of the ear that's on a cat. So we're going to make 2 more triangles out of the brown paper. So I've got 1 triangle, 2 triangles. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut those out just on my paper here. All right, so now I have the 2 brown triangles, and I'm going to set those aside. All right, now the last thing that we need is the eyes. And so I'm also going to have some white paper that is also just found paper. And so I'm going to cut that out of the paper. And this can be paperboard, it can be construction paper. But again, since we're working with recycled materials, it's good if you can find just a piece of found paper around the house. It could be printer paper or any kind of paper. So I'm going to just draw the 2 little shapes like that, almost like a little football shape. So what you want to do for the eyes, you just want to draw kind of a half circle and then another little half circle below. And that's going to make the rest of the eye. So I'm going to do 2 of those. Okay, so I'm going to try to make that a little bit bigger. All right. So I'm going to cut that out. Okay, so I've got those. All right. Okay, so now you've cut all of your pieces out. Now we're going to assemble them together on your piece of paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my paintbrush into glue. You can just squeeze out the glue just straight out of the bottle if you like. I like to use a paintbrush because I think it gives it a little bit more control. So I'm going to paint the glue all over the back here. I'm starting with the cat's head. So I'm just going to put the glue all over that. Okay. Then I'm going to try to glue it right toward the middle of your paper so that he's in the center. Since this is a cat portrait, we want it to look like he's in the center. So there is the head. Okay, now I'm going to put the body on. A lot of glue on there, so we're just going to smooth it out. Okay, so I'm going to put the body right in there. I like how on this paper too there's a little bit of color showing, so it just has a little bit more color and texture. Now we're going to glue the ears on. So I'm going to add glue to the back of the ear. Okay. What you want to do is you just want to take the head and just lift it up a little bit so the ears are tucked behind the head. Okay, now I've got the second ear. Okay, so I'm just going to add the glue. Try to use the glue sparingly, because if you get too much glue, it just makes the newspaper all lumpy and bumpy. So you want to try to make it smooth. Although some texture is good, but I just don't want it to over glue. Okay, so now I've got the ear. It's starting to look more and more like a cat. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I am going to put glue on the circle that goes on the stomach. And as you can tell, I just took packaging from one of my favorite drinks and used that for this paper. But we want just the brown side showing on that, so it's just kind of a cleaner, simpler look. All right. So now I'm moving on to the inner ear. So I got my little brown triangle. I am just painting the back. Okay. It looks like I got a little bit of glue on the bottom. That's okay. You just wipe it up, smooth it out there. All right. So now we are going to add more glue to the other ear, inner ear. Okay, so now I've got the inner ear. All right, so far you can tell that we're getting closer and closer to having our full cat. All right, more glue there. It's okay, smooth it out. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to put those eyes, the kind of football shape of the eye. Just going to put that on. Okay, so just stick it on there. All right, now I'm going to do the other eye. So I've got plenty of glue on my brush. I may have a little too much, that's okay, but like I said, try to use that glue sparingly so it's not so sticky everywhere. Okay. All right, so now I've got my two eyes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the pupil in a little round circle. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back there and just stick it on. So now we have the pupil. Okay, I'm going to put a little more glue. I still have plenty of glue on my brush, so I'm just using what I have on my brush. So it is getting a lot of glue going on here. All right. So now I have the eyes. Okay, so now we want to do the whiskers. I'm going to add a little more glue. And when you paint the glue on, you just want to go sparingly again on the back. This is where the brush comes in really handy, because you're really trying to paint that glue on so that it can just go on very specifically across each piece, and you're not getting too much glue. All right. I find it helps to put one whisker on one side and then one whisker on the other side so you can kind of make them even. So I've got one whisker on each side so far. Okay. So now I'm going to just keep adding that glue. And if it doesn't stick all the way, that's okay. You can always go back in and add some more later. It's better to use just a smaller amount of glue at first and then go back and add some in later so you're not just over gluing everything. All right. So I've got another whisker. Okay. Here are my last little whiskers. All right, now we're almost done. We've got the whiskers. We've got the body of the cat, the head, the ears. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie or a black marker. You could even use a crayon. And I'm just going to give them, just fill in those pupils. Those eyes really pop. So I'm just doing a little circle there on one eye. And I'm going to do another black circle on another eye. Okay, now he's got eyes. But he needs one more thing. He needs a nose. So I'm going to draw just a triangle right here. Okay, I'm going to be very careful that I don't fill in too much and just tear the newspaper up. Okay, so and it doesn't have to be filled in all the way. I think it looks kind of nice to leave it a little bit more open. And then I'm going to give him a little mouth. And I think it also looks nice to have a few little dots there, like a cat has by their whiskers. Okay, and there you have your collage cat. He's a complete cat ready for you to hang up and enjoy. Okay, so this is how mine turned out, and I cannot wait to see what you made and how yours turned out. I'm sure they're going to be amazing.